Welcome back. Sir, the Black's Law Dictionary defines justice as proper administration of the law, which jurisprudentially implies the constant and perpetual disposition of legal matters or disputes to render every man his due. Given this definition, would you say there is justice in Nigeria?
Well, justice is a very, very difficult thing to define, actually. In addition to your definition, I remember Plato saying, justice is the will of the strong, and where the strong does what he likes, the weak suffers what he must. It's a serious matter. After a long discussion of what justice is. Now, I'll give an example. Under our law here, you can go to court and sue government for what he owes you. Maybe it's your house which is rented by government. And government can also, you can also sue government. And the Constitution says the judgment of the Supreme Court shall be enforceable by way of garnishee, seizure of property, and so on and so forth. This can be done against you. But what happens in Nigeria? In Nigeria, we have what we call the Sheriff and Supervisor law, which says you cannot ask for your own money, judgment money for that matter, from government, unless you seek approval from the Attorney General, who is government, that I want to seize your money, I want you to seize your own money. That was in line with the theory which existed in the 19th century in England, where they say you cannot sue government in the Queen's Court because it was the owner of the court. But that has changed long ago. They can now file government property and seize money from government. The law was applicable to all Commonwealth countries, Ghana, Malawi, Ghana, and so on. But all those have abrogated the law too. Nigeria refuses to abrogate it. So if you have judgment against government today, you cannot get your money. I give an example. I have a client. I got judgment for $168 million 10 years ago. Government has refused to pay kobo. I've applied to the Attorney General several times to pay this money, but because of the law which says he must be the only person who can give me consent to attach the government property, he refused. I agree with you. There's no justice so far as judgment obtained by a civilian against government. There's no justice in this country. But that's not the only way. What is justice really in court? There are many ways where a person loses his cases. And over the years, I've won cases against another party because of the incompetence of his lawyer. Because it is your duty to prove your case by giving certain materials, certain facts, and so on and so forth. If the other lawyer is so incompetent that he does not lead evidence to support your case, you will fail. And yet, that is justice. But I call it justice according to law. It's not limited to Nigeria alone, it's all over the world. Justice in court is not necessarily justice according to the facts, but according to law.
You know, beyond what you have said, sir, there's this belief that in Nigeria, there is an imbalance between court privileges obtained by attorneys for the wealthy and for the poor. Is the judiciary really the last hope of the common man?
Well, I came back to Nigeria to start practice law, to practice my law in 1963. Just as Nigeria, which I met at that time, is not Nigeria of today. So I will say the judiciary I met at that time is not the judiciary of today at all. That was a time when the judges were a replica of God on earth, mutatis mutandis. They were respected, they were feared, and they gave judgment according to law. The society is said, the environment itself is not helpful to judges. And I must say, judges are poorly paid. Look at your members of houses who want even money for dressing. And they are talking of not of 100,000, talking of millions. How much are your judges paid? The environment is unfair. When you have tribunals, election tribunal, and of course you know, for many years, I was involved in most celebrated cases involving presidents and so on in this country in regard to petitions. We knew we would win on facts. The present president of this country, Buhari, appeared in a case for almost 5 months where we appeared every day. Each time we left the court, he would come and shake me because he saw that we are doing cases according to law. It's not everything. It's not more so now. You will now ask, that tribunal consists of 5 judges. Where does the one come from? Where does it one come from? Now you now go and get lawyers from the different states and so on and so forth. Things are really getting bad. What is bad, I would say, economically, is also bad judicially.
You have said that the Senior Advocate of Nigeria title should be given to every lawyer who meets the requirements to discourage lobbying. What do you mean by that? I
was a member of the Prejudice Committee giving out the title Senior Advocate. I found as a father that many are really qualified, but we are limited by the so-called rule that only so many ought to be appointed. I believe that once you are qualified, when you become disqualified, so if 50 qualify and only 15 are to be taken, then we are going to select 15 out of 50 qualified ones. What yardstick, what method do you want to adopt to appoint 50 out of qualified 50? In England, where we borrowed this idea, everybody that's qualified is given the award. Let us have very stern, very stiff conditions for you to fulfill. But whoever crosses the bar ought to be appointed. So that will give room for the principle of who knows who after you are qualified.
In the dying days of his administration, former President Jonathan suggested that there should be a probe into how oil blocks were allocated by successive administrations. You once wrote a letter rejecting the allocation of an oil block because the amount you were to pay, you said, was too small. From your findings, is this what has been going on, all these years? People underpaying for our oil blocks?
That's true. There was a bid in which I was involved. It was the NNPC oil block that had been used somehow. When I bidded for it, I found that there was a lot of oil still remaining there. And the amount we were asked to pay was about, if I remember, a few $1 million. I found that it was unconscionable for me to buy such huge well for a small amount. Then I said it should review it upwards. It was reviewed to about 30 million. I said it was to me, knowing me as I am, I said, somebody might come in the future and find out how do you come about this thing. They won't know that I protested. I said, look, I don't want any oil block. I knew those who got the oil block, and some of them said they were too rich in money. They don't know what to do with dollars. But I'm satisfied with where I am. I still believe there's something wrong in the way oil blocks are allotted. Having regard to what I saw at that time.
You teach law at the university, so that brings you into constant contact, close contact with this new generation of people. I'm sure they're learning a lot from you, but what have you learned from them?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Because I'm so close to them, I know the students of today, I let those in institutions with their own type of conditions and so on, are very inquisitive. Now, because of the latest devices, technological devices we use in learning, ICT and so on, they know better than their teachers. And I keep on telling my teachers here, I better tell you this. My university was the first to start learning method for teachers. Because whether you hold PhD or MSc, you need some teaching method before you can start teaching. So I keep on telling them, these students are not students of the past, where you say, go and read. By tuning to their ICT, they know better. So if you are not careful, they will teach you. Mr. Teacher, what so? You know, because you don't do your research. So it makes teachers do research now. And that's why we advocate interactive teaching instead of coming to read lesson notes to students. They are better, they are more creative, and they are more innovative than we of the old.
And what bearing did your upbringing have on the decisions you took later in life?
I think the hardship of the time had led to, had made me strong. I keep on saying hardship breeds character. Character breeds faith. Faith never fails. I think that's what I've learned from it.
Afe Babalola, we thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. Wonderful.
And we thank you for watching. Please join us next time when View from the Top returns. But between now and then, let's continue this conversation online at channelstv.com. And do follow me on Twitter at ModelSY. I want to know what you think of my conversation with Afe Babalola. Thank you again for watching, and I wish you a wonderful day.